Hi there, it's Polygon Experts, and in this video we want to have a quick look on alpha brushes. Many times you have seen in the store some alpha packs for purchase, and when you use these alphas in applications like ZBrush, Substance Painter, Substance Designer, they look some kind 3D, and you may ask yourself, hey, how these brushes are created? And in this video I want to show you how to create your own brush, even for using in your personal works or using as for selling in the stores. But before doing that, you can go to the polygonexperts.com, and from our product page you can free download our Lost Haven alpha brushes by clicking on that and going to the alpha brushes page and click on the free download. And after downloading that, you will have access some high quality brushes which you can use in applications, for example in ZBrush. As you can see, I am in the ZBrush, and here is one of the alphas in the pack, and when I use this in my cube, it looks quite 3D and high quality. And there are other alphas. For example, this is one other alpha. As you can see, I can use it, and you can use it in other applications. For example, you can use it in Substance Painter. Now I'm in the Substance Painter, and if you look, I have just a very low poly simple plane, but by using the alphas, the plane looks quite realistic and high detailed. And after using the alphas and my plane looks realistic, I can bake the textures and use it in game engines like Unity, Unreal, and other things like that. And these are some of the works of the brushes. So don't forget to download these brushes from the polygonexperts.com, and feel free to use that either in your personal works, either in your promotional works, without to be worrying about any copyright claim, because it's quite free from our group. Another thing you can find in the folder of the brush is our Discord link. You can join our Discord group. We have created a new Discord group. You can join that, and if you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the Discord group. We can have some other discussions in the group, and if you have our other products, this Discord group can be one of the ways to support your product. Okay, I think it's enough, and it's time to start the work to create our own brush. To achieve a 3D looking alpha, you need a 3D software and a 3D model that you want to create the alpha from that. Now, for a 3D software, I'm using 3D Studio Max, and here is the ornament I have created, and I want to create the alpha from that as an example. The first thing I will do in the software is to correct the position of my model. So I will change the position of my model to the center of the world space in the software. So I will change the world space, and I change the viewport so that I can see the model as well in its new location. And after that, I will move the model a little bit up so that it's be above this black line. The next step is to create a camera right above the model. So I will create a camera in the front view. So let's go and create a physical camera in the front view right above the model, and change the view, one of the view to the camera view. So I will change the left view to the camera view, and here is my view. And the next step is to right click on the physical camera and select the show save frame so that I can see the render frame and correct the position of my model. So when I render the model, I have a good result for that. All right. And the next step is to set my resolution to a correct value. For the resolution for such this work, I always recommend to use quad resolutions and use the highest resolution as you can. So I will use the 4196 by 4196. There it is. And for creating our alpha brush, we need two render paths. One render path is the Z depths. We use the Z depths path as our main and base part of our alpha. And the other one and the other path we need is the ambient occlusion path, which you can use this for creating the subtle details on our model in the alpha. So for achieving the Z depths and the ambient occlusion, we will go to the render elements and click on the add, and select the V-Ray Z depths for achieving the Z depths effect. And for the ambient occlusion, I will select the V-Ray extra text So let's find and select V-Ray extra text, and in the parameters of the V-Ray extra text, in the texture part we will select the map and select the V-Ray dirt, so that it gives us the ambient occlusion pass. And the other thing we must pay attention is the parameters of the V-Ray Z depths. When you click on the V-Ray Z depths, here we have two kind of parameters that are the main part of the V-Ray Z depths. One is the Z depths minimum value, which is the minimum distance from the model to the camera, and the other one is the maximum distance from the model to the camera. And keep in mind, the more your model's parts distance to the camera be near the Z depths minimum, those parts become brighter and near the white, and the more your model's parts distance to the camera be near the Z depths maximum, those parts become darker. And if some of the parts of the model distance to the camera be more than the maximum value entered in Z depths max, those parts become black. And for measuring the minimum and the maximum distance from the models and the camera, we will use the tape that you can find it in the helper. And by clicking on the tape, we can create the tape in the beginning part of the camera, and the end part of the taper must be in the nearest part of the model to the camera. So I think this part is okay. And when we go to the modify list and see the length is about 16.3, which we can say, okay, it must be a little bit less. It's near 16 or 16.1. This is the minimum value. And let's select the maximum value. The maximum value can be near this black line because the end part of this model is near the black line. So we will change it. Something like 17.8. Let's change that to 17.8. And let's have a render on our physical camera to see what we will have. And if we look at that, our main scene is totally black because we have no light in our scene. But we don't need our main scene. We just need our two render passes of V-Ray Z depths, and the other one is the ambient occlusion pass. So let's check the V-Ray Z depths, and if you check it, we will have this result. And if you check the V-Ray extra text, we will have the ambient occlusion too. For the ambient occlusion, we have a lot of noise because we are using the progressive rendering mode, and we will change it to bucket, and this problem will be solved. And for the V-Ray Z depths, if you see, the corner parts are darker from the center parts, and this gives us bad effects, and we need to change that. We need so that this corner be brighter, and that's because always keep in mind when you are using Z depths pass, because it's having minimum and maximum distance values, do not fit your 3D models to the screen. Do not, let me show you, do not fit your model to the screen, because that's because the corner model become much darker and it doesn't give you precise detail in height. Because your model gets far away from the center line of the camera, and the more amount of distance will occur, and that cause of the dark area. Let me show you. This is the center part of the model, and if you look at the tape, we are measuring the distance according to the center part of the model. But if you look at the corner parts, the distance can be measured by this line, and this line have more distance from this line. So we need to decrease the size of the model to achieve a better result, because the more the corner parts be near the center part of the camera, the more precise effect will occur in the Z depths. So let's render it again. And if you look at that, the corner parts are brighter now, and it is a more precise effect in the Z depths. But we can increase the resolution instead. So let's change the resolution. I will change it to 5000 by 5000, and I will change the render type to bucket and start to render our passes. And here it is, our passes are ready. As you see, the Z depths, it's very awesome. And if you look at the ambient occlusion, it is a very awesome results now. And we can save our ambient occlusion and V-Ray Z depths and use it in Photoshop. So we will save that and open it in Photoshop. And here we have our two passes in the Photoshop. We have our Z depths and the ambient occlusion pass. And as I told you before, we use the Z depths pass as our main and base part of our alpha. And we use the ambient occlusion for creating subtle details on our model in the alpha. So the first thing we must do is select our ambient occlusion pass, select all the parts and copy them and paste them right above the Z depths. Something like that. We don't need the ambient occlusion pass. We will delete that because we have two layers in one scene, as you see. But we don't use the ambient occlusion as it is because it gives us very sharp and crisp edge, especially in the height part. So we make it blurry enough. And for doing this, we will go to the filter while we are selecting the ambient occlusion layer. We will go to the filter, and in the blur, we will select the Gaussian blur. And I think this amount of blur is enough. I will increase it a little bit. All right, that's right. And the amount of the ambient occlusion, the opacity is too much because we want the ambient occlusion just for subtle details. So first we will change the blending mode to multiply, and then we will decrease the amount of the opacity. Okay, let's check that. The Z depths without ambient occlusion, the Z depths with ambient occlusion, and if you see, we have some subtle details when we add the ambient occlusion, but it's too much yet, and we must decrease the opacity again so that it be so subtle. All right, it's awesome, and our alpha is created. And for the last part, we will create some rulers, and let's crop extra parts. Alright, our alpha is created now. You can save your work and use it in your application which supports alpha. Also, you can create your own alpha pack and use it in the stores for selling. At the end, don't forget to join our Discord group, and you can find the Discord group in the last event alpha pack after you download it from our website. There is a notepad file in the folder called the Discord, and if you open that, you will find the Discord link. Also, I've put the link in my YouTube information. You can find it in that. And I hope this tutorial was useful for you guys. Have a good time. Good luck.